So welcome everyone who's joined us. Really great to have you here for this first UKRI Mental Health Platform PPIE Awards Information Webinar. It is a webinar, so although you can see me and hopefully the slides, I can't see you, and your microphones and cameras are turned off. I'll just start with a bit of housekeeping and then we'll get into the business of the information. So just to say again that the webinar is going to be recorded and uploaded on our website, and we'll share it on social media. So during the webinar, you won't be able to switch your camera on or your mic on or to raise your hands. And that's basically so that we have a clear recording that will be helpful for other people wanting to see it later on. You can, however, ask questions and post questions into the chat or the Q&A, which I think there'll be instructions for how to do that anonymously appearing, if you would like to do that. So both options are available. At the end of the webinar, so it'll be about 30 minutes with the slides, we'll have an open Q&A session. This won't be recorded, and we'd obviously ask you to put your cameras and mics on for that so that we can see you and we can all be together. If you have any technical problems at all, please just use the chat function. Vaughan, my colleague, is on there to look out for any queries, or you can email us at mhp@ed.ac.uk. Thank you. Next slide, please. So, welcome to this very first round one of the PPIE Mental Health Platform Awards. I'm Susanna Strong. Members of the steering group will know me already, but for anyone else who's here for the leaps or the leaves, I'm the chair of the steering group, and that's my remit pretty much. So, a huge welcome to anyone I haven't met already. I'll be running through about half of the slides and then handing over to Indrani, the Platform Senior Project Manager, to go into more detail about the applications process. So just to kick off really with the main points, this is the first round of the PPIE Awards. They're open to everybody with lived experience of mental health who's a member of the platform. And then the outline for this particular webinar is this is how it's going to run. I'm going to start with some information about the awards. Then we're going to go into eligibility for the awards, and then we'll have a brief look at the timeline for the first round of these awards. We're also going to be covering the business of the application form and also mentioning the optional expression of interest, which I'll say a little bit more about when we get to it, but it's another option for you. And then towards the end of the presentation, the last third or so, we'll be looking at what happens after you submit an application, what's going to go on in the background in terms of review, how we will feed back to people who've applied and to those people who are successful, and then some information about how to start up the project. And then probably most importantly, what support is in offer to people who are working on the awards, how the reporting and the dissemination side of things as well. So hopefully we'll give you a really good comprehensive look at the whole process. Next slide, please. So this, probably most of you are familiar with this. This is the layout of the mental health platform with the 6 hubs. You'll see down the right-hand side for me, the oversight, and then also where PPIE is in relation to the platform, which is right at the centre, which is absolutely where it should be. So most of you will be familiar with that, but it just gives you a general look at all the different elements that are part of the platform. Next slide, please. So, as you probably know already, the platform's already been involved in a number of different awards and funding opportunities. We've already completed 2 rounds of the Early Career Research Fellowship Awards, and some of you will have been involved in the review process for that. But these awards are the first Patient and Public Involvement and Engagement Awards. This will be an annual funding call. This is the first round, and there'll be 2 more. And then all awards will finish and we have to be finally handed in by, I think it's New Year's Eve 2028. So if you don't enter this time, there'll be 2 more opportunities. So the awards what are they? They're an innovative opportunity for people with lived experience of severe mental illness to develop and lead a funded research project. When we say lived experience, that can be personal experience or as a carer or both. The project must connect at least 2 of the mental health platform hubs in the spirit of collaboration. Only current members of the platform may apply. All applications are voluntary. Obviously, it's entirely up to you whether you enter or not, and there isn't any payment or remuneration available for the application process of the awards. I hope that's really clear. I just should say, at any point in this webinar, all this information that I'm sharing now is available on the website as well. So if I'm going too quick or anything, it is you'll find it on the website along at the end of this webinar with the recording of this and the slides as well. Next slide, please. Right, so who can apply? Anyone with lived experience of severe mental illness who is a member of one or more of the hubs. Lived experience, as I said, can include personal or carer's perspective. So you could be a member of the steering group or part of one of the LEAPs or the LEAVES. You could also be a researcher attached to one of the hubs who also has lived experience of severe mental illness. So any of those options are possible. You don't need any previous experience about applying for a research grant or award. And I'd really like to emphasise that this is not necessarily for people who are already researchers or have got an academic pathway. It's very much for anybody who is a member to apply if you've got an idea and would like to bring it to life. Next slide. So what are we looking for? In the spirit of collaboration, which is what the platform's all about, the project must connect at least 2 of the hubs. The budget is anything from £2,000 to £20,000, no more than £20,000, and the project itself can be short term or longer term, but must finish by the end of December 2028. It's really important that the project is planned by you with your co-leads and collaborators. We are really encouraging people to work as co-leads on this so that everybody has peer support as they go forward. The focus of the project this year, for this year's round, must align with one of the funding themes, and these are improving PPIE best practice, evaluating its impact, enhancing understanding of people with severe mental illness. So at least one of those themes must be absolutely core to your application, could be more than 2. Just to note that these themes may change. This is very much for the 2026 round of the awards. I really want to emphasise, we really want to make it absolutely clear that there's plenty of support on offer, right the way through from the applications process all the way through the actual running of the award itself. And this obviously is because we really want to encourage people who haven't done research before to really feel that they've got equal standing in taking part in this. So our overall goal is to make the application process as accessible and supportive as possible. We've got lots of examples on the website. So the address is there. The examples obviously are examples, so they can't be copied or duplicated, but we really hope they might help as a jumping off point to help you shape the project plan, to adapt it to fit your own interests and to obviously work collaboratively even across the hubs. So the examples are very much made up. But here you can see what they are. All of these, if you go onto the website and find these examples, click on any of them, and it will give you quite a lot of detail in terms of the context, what the project is covering, how it worked, and obviously what the outcomes were. Obviously, all of these are imaginary; they're not real projects, but there's such a range there that I think they could be really helpful for people who are applying and doing something like this for the first time. So I'd really encourage you to have a look at these examples because I think they could be really helpful. We've also provided, and luckily they're not all on the slide because the print would be very, very tiny indeed, a lot of example documents for you to help you. So there's an example of the application form, there's an example of a research plan, a budget plan, and of the hub support letters, which I'll get onto in a minute. But all of these are obviously example documents, but the idea is that they've all been completed and put up there for you to have a look at, so that when you're doing your own forms, you've got a sort of you can refer back to them. If you get stuck with any or all of them, obviously, again, please do email us at the platform or get in touch with us. We're absolutely, every member of the coordinating team is absolutely on hand to help you and to support you if you do get stuck. There's a fair bit of documentation with this, but I think it is all quite straightforward, and I really hope that we provided enough support information to make it not too painful a process. We do have some dates as well, just to sort of maybe shape how the thing is going to look for you, as we go forward. So, Indra, if you'd like to let me see the dates. Right, so I won't go through all of these, but you can see that we've got a pretty good framework of dates now. I'll mention the expression of interest because that actually closes on the 5th of January 2026. I shared an image of the form a bit earlier on, but if you do want to take that option, as in submitting an expression of interest prior to submitting a full application, just be aware that that does close on the 5th of January. We really don't need much detail on it, so please, it shouldn't be a time-consuming thing to do. But if you are still a bit diffident about the full application form and process, then please do take advantage of that expression of interest. There's also dates there for the full application stage. I'll also mention here the drop-in support sessions. So we're running a number of these between January and the end of February, and there'll be about 5 or 6 of them. We will supply a link. The links will go onto the website, and the idea with these is that they are literally drop-in. You'll be able to click on the link, and if you've got any queries or questions or concerns about the application process, then somebody will be at the other end of the link to help you through that. As I say, there'll be about 5 of them, I think, and we will put the link onto the website so that you can just copy the link from there and join, whether it is the right time. Deadline for applications is the 2nd of March at 12 noon. And then after that, there'll be a whole flurry of activity behind the scenes when we're looking at eligibility checks, conflict of interest, all that kind of thing, and making sure that the applications are all good to go. And then the decision process will start. There's a review committee meeting at the week beginning the 30th of March, and the final funding decision will be shared by the 15th of April 2026. So hopefully, again, this will all be available on the website. These dates will be revised annually, so obviously what stands for next year won't work for the following year. And then just in terms of general information about the awards, if you feel that maybe you've got an idea but you're not quite ready to submit it this year, or you've got other things going on, then there'll be future rounds. 27 and 2028 will be running future rounds of the PPIE Awards. And again, everything for all of the rounds will have to be in by New Year's Eve on 2028. So I really, really hope that even if you don't enter this time, you might consider doing it next time. So I've been mentioning the expression of interest form. So the form has been developed really to support people who are really interested in applying, but perhaps haven't are a bit daunted by the application form, or would just like a bit more support with their idea, maybe aren't quite sure that it is a right idea or needs a bit of help to develop it. The form's very straightforward. We really don't want people to spend much time on filling this in. The idea is that it's not an extra layer of kind of form filling in, but it's just hopefully helpful for people who are maybe not 100% confident that they're ready for the full application form. So if you've got an idea and you'd like a little bit of help with the development of it before you submit the application, then please do submit one of these forms available on the website. And then somebody from the coordinating team will then reach out to you to help discuss the feasibility of developing the proposal. We do need to have the form into us by the 5th of January. So if you would like to fill one of those as an example of the form on the slide in front of me, please do think about doing that. It just might be a bit of extra help for you. If you're confident you go straight to the form, the full application form, then please don't hesitate and do that. This is really only for people who might need just a little bit more reassurance and support before filling in the form. Thank you. Next slide, please. Okay, so the full form itself, it is quite large, but hopefully it is very, very straightforward to fill in. So there's the form itself, which I won't share on the screen because you won't be able to read it, and I won't be able to read it, but obviously it's available on the website. Along with the form itself, we're asking for one form to be submitted per team. So if you are collaborating with other hubs or working cross hubs, or you've got a large team, then obviously it's still just one form that comes in for the actual award that you're applying for, the project that you're submitting. With that, we'd ask you to attach letters of support. Now, these will come from the hub leads or other collaborators involved, and the letters really just to say that they support you in your endeavours, and they will provide support to you as you work on the project. You'll also need to provide consent so that we can process your data. That is part of the application form, is quite standard. And then obviously there's details about how to save the application form and how to title it. And then obviously where you need to send the form to, and the date. I think again it's on the list of dates I supplied earlier, but I think it's the end of March. The form itself has a number of sections. I won't read all of these out, but as you can see, the main sections are obviously the contact details, so we get back to you, the project information, the theme, that's one of the 3 themes or more than one of the 3 themes I mentioned earlier, and then the short sections to fill in are around describing your project in plain English, setting out who's going to do what, setting out obviously your PPIE experience, outcomes and impact, and then obviously diversity and ethical implications. And then the remaining sections are around the plan and the budget, and then how you heard about the opportunity, diversity, and any conflicts of interest. And I'll get onto a bit more detail about that. And then obviously the data consent as well. This is what the form looks like. I'm definitely not going to be reading this out, but even though it's lengthy, I hope it has been set out quite clearly. And some of you may be familiar with filling in forms like this if you've applied for awards or been part of research before. And again, just to really emphasise, if you get stuck, please come and ask us for help. That's what we're here for, and the drop-ins will help you with that as well. In terms of the budget planning, just because not everybody will have been involved with budgets, I'd just very briefly like to sort of set out what you can include. And those are direct project costs, 100% directly incurred and allocated project costs can be claimed. These include staff time, travel and subsistence on individual projects. And I think this is really important. We really want to make it possible for people to be able to travel and meet face to face. I'm really aware, having run the PPIE, the steering group session we had at the summit, just how valuable it was for us all to be together in a room and talk to each other and do planning face to face. So that's absolutely part and parcel of the funding. Costs of networking, activities and events, also very much part of this. If you want to run a webinar like this one or something face to face or a workshop, all of that can be factored into the project costs. Anything to do with engagement, knowledge exchange, and including the travel and subsistence. So please don't hold back. If your project means that you need to physically get together with a team from other hubs, please do. That's absolutely part and parcel of the funding. Equipment, I'm not sure what the equipment would be, but anyway, if you can find some relevant equipment, you can claim for it up to the value of £10,000. So I hope that's helpful in terms of the costs. There's obviously a list of things that you can't claim for, and I'll read these out actually because just to be really clear, that's duplication of other sources of funding that would be more appropriate for the activity to be funded, indirect or estates costs at the research organisation. And then secondly, any costs relating to intellectual property protection, including but not limited to registering, maintaining or supporting patents or property rights. It's quite sort of legal language, but equipment valued more than £10,000, undergraduate or postgraduate activities or training or core PhD training, including tuition or bench fees, and then 5, contributions to existing knowledge transfer partnerships, and then 6, the salary costs of investigators and staff employed and existing who are already employed on the hubs aren't eligible. So that's quite legal sounding, but I hope it's clear. And if it's not clear, please do come and ask us what that means. Next slide, please. This bit is really important. So this is about conflicts of interest. So we would ask all applicants, please, to identify during the application stage any potential COI or conflict of interest with collaborators, hub leads, PPIE or other members of the platform. And that might be direct involvement in a proposed project, close professional relationship, supervisor, mentor, collaborator or co-applicant, employment at the same institution as the applicant, and then finally personal or financial interest in the outcomes of the application. Again, if you are not sure whether you've got a conflict of interest, and I'm really aware, obviously, that some of you may also be invited to be or be part of the review panel, or may, obviously, you're all together working on the hubs and you already do collaborate, hopefully. So, if you're not sure about the conflict of interest side of things, again, please do answer us and we'll really help you to see whether there is a conflict of interest in your case or not. So again, this information is available on the website. The letters of support. So again, this is because of the cross-hub working and the collaboration between hubs. We would ask that with the application form you submit letters of support from each of the hub leads that you're working with and or any further collaborators involved from the hubs. So this is really important that they are supportive, or those leads are supportive of what you're doing. The letters must include information on the level of commitment and the type of contribution provided from the hubs or the collaborators. And this obviously means that you will need to have a chat with the hub leads before you apply to confirm that they are supportive and are happy to put that in writing. But I think it's also a reassurance for you as applicants that you will get the support and some mentoring from the hubs if you need it. So I think hopefully that's quite straightforward to achieve, and I think it will be helpful for everybody who is applying. Next slide, please. Oh, And at the end, I hope I didn't gabble too much. I hope that's clear. If I did, then obviously these slides and the recording of this meeting and all the information that I've referenced will be absolutely available on the website later on. And so thank you very much for your attention. And I'm now going to hand over to Indrani to take us to the detail of what happens after the application process. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Susanna. Hello, everyone. I'm Indrani. I'm the Senior Project Manager at the Mental Health Platform. So we're now going to look at what happens after you've submitted an application to the awards process. So this flow chart here, in a sense, is just a snapshot of what we can expect after the application has been submitted. So essentially, the central coordinating team will complete the eligibility checks of the applications that have been received. And outcome from the eligibility checks will be communicated to all the candidates who have applied. And after the checks have been completed, they then move on to the peer and PPIE review step. And this takes place at the review committee meeting. And decisions from the review committee meeting will be shared with the leadership team, the MHP leadership team. And along with them, we will also share the outcome to our funder, who are UKRA MRC. And essentially, the awards are then provided to successful applicants, after which contract exchange is initiated, and that highlights the project start. So I've run through this pretty quickly, as you can see, but I'm going to elaborate a little bit about some of the steps that are mentioned here for clarity. So as I mentioned, we'll get the applications, and the eligibility checks are carried out. And this is in line with the application form that Susanna kindly shared in the first segment of this webinar. So all of this is clear, and there's lots of information on our website. So once the eligibility checks are complete, they will go through an independent peer and PPIE review process. The review committee usually has three main sort of cohorts or groups of members. So we have the independent peer reviewers who do not, work with the MHP in any form. And we also have hub representatives at the review committee. And we will also have PPIE members who are independent. And you can see from the composition that I mentioned, it is essentially to make sure that the review process remains fair. And this meeting is usually co-chaired by the director of the platform, who's Professor Andrew McIntosh, and it's co-chaired by a PPAE member. And our funder, UKRA MRC, also occasionally join these meetings as observers. Again, all of this is to ensure that it's a fair process. And at this committee meeting, they will review all the eligible projects and score them as per the categories outlined below, which is team and hub, cross-hub collaboration, impact and strategic alignment to MHP, and also judge the quality, the research quality, and the delivery plan for the project that's been submitted. And you can find out more information about this on the awards PPIE review process and scoring criteria document, which is on our website. So once the review committee have met and made their decision, it is then shared with the LT, with the leadership team and the funder. And after that's been done, the outcomes are shared with all the candidates, with all applicants, including applicants who have been unsuccessful in that particular round. Running these kind of awards previously, there's been lots of feedback from applicants themselves that they do find feedback after the review committee really helpful in terms of shaping future application in case they've been unsuccessful, and also as part of their own development. And of course, for successful applicants, the outcome email will be sent. So there are two possible outcomes. There's an unconditional outcome, essentially, where the review committee agreed to fund the project in full. And the other possible outcome is a conditional outcome, wherein the committee will provide some amendments. And once those amendments, by amendments I mean changes, Once those changes have been incorporated, there will be an agreement to then fund the project. So essentially, those are the two possible outcomes for successful applicants. So once the outcome has been shared, this is usually an email from the MHP coordinating team. They will then work with the Edinburgh Research Office to initiate contract exchange with the successful PPIE applicant. Just for the sake of simplicity, I'm going to refer to them as awardee. So if an awardee is associated with a host institution, this can be an academic institution, charity, NHS, etc. The institution will then be responsible for signing the contract, and they'll also be responsible for receiving and monitoring the award and paying the awardee, not just for their time in the project, but also paying the other costs that have been budgeted in the application form. And if the awardee is independent, the ERO, the research office, will then initiate the contract exchange directly. And there's a couple of different ways in which this can be completed. Of course, in this instance, a lay summary of the contract could also be made available. So there's enough clarity in what is being exchanged and signed. So once the contract has been exchanged, essentially so once I should say one step back, essentially once the outcome has been provided to the applicants, the project needs to begin within 6 months of receiving that outcome email. So this is the decision from the review committee meeting. And once the contract is signed, the project should then start within a month of the contract being exchanged fully. And Suzanne has already mentioned this particular date here, 31st of December. This is simply in line with the timeline of the platform, and therefore all live research projects they need to complete by the 31st of December. So that's it really. So that signals the start of the project after the contracts have been exchanged. And as part of your project initiation, there'll be lots of support, not just at the start, but during the delivery of the project as well. Our aim is really to help you stay on track, meet all the project goals, and be able to manage a research budget confidently. So at the start, we'll have an onboarding call so the awardee will have an onboarding call with the coordinating team. There'll be supportive check-ins, and these are not just check-ins with the coordinating team, but of course there'll be local hub level check-in calls that will be arranged on a project basis, on a case-by-case basis. And as part of the onboarding call and initiation, we'll also identify any mentoring needs and essentially the idea is to stay connected. So there's always support available and to be able to catch any problems well before it arises. And in terms of keeping the project running smoothly and also as a way of monitoring, the applicants or the awardees are asked to submit 2 brief written reports every year. Of course, this will change a little bit depending on the duration of the project, the number of occurrences. For example, if it's a really short project for 6 to 8 months, your reporting schedule will probably only be 1 report. And if it's, say, a year or a couple of years worth of project, we ask you to submit a final report, which is a month before the project end date. And that report will be shared with the leadership team and the PPIE steering group as part of dissemination and sharing findings from the project. And of course, I have to say that dissemination can look, it's not just this report. It can come in many different forms. It can be a presentation at a conference or a meeting, a public speaking event, for example, or it can be a blog on the website. It could be a podcast on our website. So I'm sure Sophie from our communications team will come up with lots of ideas for that. So just wanted to share that dissemination can look like many different things, and report is just one part of it. So hope that is a little bit clear in terms of what we can expect after the application has been submitted. Going on to the last part of this webinar, so I wanted to highlight a few different questions that have come up so far. This is not a limited list. I'm not going to attempt to provide answers just now, but I just wanted to quickly share some questions, and of course we'll be discussing more in our Q&A session. I wanted to take a minute to thank everyone for joining this webinar. It's great to have you here. You have our details, social media details, and of course our website. So please use all the resources highlighted on the website and get in touch with us if you have any questions.